So I haven't done a divine feminine discourse video for quite a long time, and I'm really pleased to be doing one now with my glorious friend Berni.
Hello.
Berni is a fellow celebrant. We met through the AOIC, the Association of Independent Celebrants, and now we've spent a lovely few days together, haven't we?
Yay.
Berni is a woman of many talents. Stained glass, we've done some of that. We've been out romping around lakes and rock gardens and God knows what. Fellow cake eater.
Yeah,
That's
run a
always
guest
good
house,
thing.
that's here.
Run a guest house. But you're also a death doula.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on a minute. I always do this. I have to race off and get the book. Hang on. I'm always doing this, Berni.
That's right.
It gets half edited in and half edited out. Because I'm always running off having to get books because I'm underprepared. Berni has done this amazing book. But do you want to say a bit about the book? Do you want to sum it up? You'll probably sum it up better than me.
Well, it's a book that is based on having spent some years as both an end-of-life celebrant and doula, and realising how ill-prepared or unaware families often are of each other's wishes and needs, but also what's available when they die. And it's a tool that is the best you can get, other than sitting in a room and having a conversation with me, that will talk you through all the ideas and all the things you need and all the fears and all the worries and all the planning that you can do and all the choices that are available with regard to the last chapters of your life, preparing for dying, death, funerals, grief, all of that type of thing.
And I guess what you've seen is when families haven't had those conversations because people don't want to talk about it, but then they feel incredibly uncomfortable and like they might get it wrong, or they might not do that person justice because they've never asked, is there a particular music, or is there a particular thing,
Well, not just at the funerals, you get the guilt, fear, regret, doubt, when somebody, what if you lose capacity to communicate?
Oh, okay, yes. So it's in the pre-death stage as well as...
Yeah, and people don't know really what you want and what's important to surround you with, or what you... I always say, lots of people don't know what they want, but they usually know definitely what they don't want.
Yeah.
I know I don't want someone to feed me a diet of sprouts when I can't communicate. If all the vegetables, I love vegetables, hate sprouts. Please don't put them on my plate. I know that I've had clients who would not want fast foods, but they can't communicate, or and those types of things. What are people's values in life that you can carry through for their care and into their death and the celebration of their life? But also, as a family, what do you wish you'd asked them? What do you not realise you don't know about your people, your person? And also, have they planned something for when they die that you're not aware of? How is that going to impact you? What do they need, but what do you need? So helping families and facilitating conversation between them, because it might be fine that your loved one has organised a direct cremation, but what if you need some sort of ritual to help you say goodbye? Do you have permission for that, or are you going to feel guilty if you do it? How are you going to process your grief if you don't? What if your sibling has been made executor of the will, but you thought it was going to be you? What if, all of these things that might cause conflict, misunderstanding, upset, anger, confusion, all of these things. They don't...
At a time when you're already emotionally vulnerable and heightened, it's like a little, what's it in the fire?
Yeah,
It can all
absolutely.
go off.
And we all respond in different ways when we're grieving, and then that in itself causes conflict. You know, one sibling or member of a family might be sobbing and crying, unable to function. The other might be all super organised and they're getting on it, and and that might lead to a belief that one cares more than others, one's sadder than the other. So it's a stressful time, loss, grief, and dealing with the anticipatory grief and loss before that happens as well. So to have had conversations when you're not in a heightened state of emotion, and to have planned things in advance, even if you change your plans again and again. You know, I've got a plan and an idea now, and I've articulated it. In 10 years' time or 2 years' time or 6 months' time, I might come up with something else I fancy. And I can change that plan. It's not cast in stone, never to be, looked at again. So I can have a conversation and then go, oh, I've just discovered this is an option, or this has now become an option. I think I'd quite like to explore that if I become, in need of additional care, or when I die, or if we move or whatever, and so that these are fluid things to have conversations and plan and write down and put in place, but they can be fluid, and they also don't have to be massive. You don't have to go, right, family, let's all get togetger, we're going to sit down and we're going to talk about everything to do with my demise.
Let's work through the entire book.
Yeah. I mean, I was like sat with my parents the other day, and I just said, oh, Dad, I just realised I didn't know how you proposed to Mum. And it kind of like ended up going off on a conversation. I'm going, I didn't know that.
You find the lovely bits of the personal history, not just that they went to school here and they lived there.
Yeah, and it's through writing that book, I have realised things that I haven't done with my parents, which was a lot, by the way, and it has facilitated having some of those conversations with them. But it's also made me more keen to ask things and discover things, and to really ask them what they're frightened of, or what they really don't want, or what would worry them, or what their concerns are, and help articulate that and hold those, not all in one go. Just every now and again, I might say, I read this about, I just heard that you can have, you did it yesterday, water cremation, your water cremations. And you're thinking, I've just heard that there's a new way of doing cremations, you could say, and I might explore that for myself, find that interesting. And that might just start a 2-minute chat after you've been discussing the flower beds, and then before you discuss what you're going to have for dinner. Doesn't have to be massive, and a big deal, but start putting it together. The other thing about that book is that there's space. So there's lots of short chapters, and then there's gaps, blank gaps and prompts where you can write. I love a book you can write in, where you can articulate your thoughts on that subject. So if you haven't done anything else other than have the book and someone knows where it is, some of what you want and what your thought process will be in there.
Gets down on paper.
So you can start gathering all your thoughts there, even if you don't move it onto another stage. It's just there. You can write, yuck.
So, my life, my death, my wishes, Berni Benton. I'll put a thing somewhere in the description where they can get that. That's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. It's a nice
book. You should be. It's great. And this is much needed. This is, I've done a bit of work. I did a podcast thing with John Adams, who death, a changing industry, and he is really trying to tackle this sort of thing. People having conversations, people understanding what it is. It's the inevitable, that death is going to happen at some point, and how prepared are you? And trying to, he in particular is trying to get death and bereavement into the curriculum of the national curriculum, which is just so key. It really is. But there's just a whole, it's a big gap in family conversation and...
Well, culturally in the UK, it certainly is. We are very reticent about discussing the inevitable. It's not like it will go away if we don't discuss it, and it's
or
not
happen any faster because
if we do. No, that's right. If that was the case, I'd be going, I've just found $5,000. Oh look, Money would, things that just because you talk about something, it doesn't make it happen or go away. But what it does definitely do, if you talk about something, is it takes the power of it away. So if you're fearful about these things and having these conversations, and you build them up in your mind and you're pretending you're not, worried, it will be constantly playing on your mind. If you have the conversation, then you can forget about it. Then it's out in the open. These are things that you've discussed, that they exist. I mean, it doesn't matter what your financial situation, what your social status is, what age you are. At some point in your life, you will experience loss, and at some point in your life, you will die. It doesn't matter how much you squirrel away and what you have and what anything about you. It is an inevitable, and it makes us all the same. We're all going to be in that position at some point in our life.
I would say death is a great leveler.
Yeah.
So anyway, we got on a right tangent, but that's really, this is the Divine Feminine showing up already. No, but it's really good, because this is, it's something that I used to do a lot of work on, and just trying to help people out with that. So I'm all of that staying in. I'm not cutting any of that out.
Oh, okay.
It's all relevant.
Good.
Yeah, and you own a B&B, and you're just a busy woman. You're an all-round good woman.
Thanks
a font of creativity.
I think you've been here
and colour.
You've been here 3 days, and I've it's like having my twin sister staying. It's so frigging weird.
You're I always want to say you're an MP. You're not an MP. What are you when you're not an MP? But you're like Lily, Lady Lily the Pink.
Yeah, I'm a member of
Monster Raving Loony Party. Does anyone remember the Monster? They're still around. It's brilliant.
They're very much still around. I joined the Monster Raving Loony Party when I moved to Mid Wales, because I found myself living here in Clynarted Wells, and I walked into the local pub, and outside the pub there was a top hat, Screaming Lord Such's top hat, and over the bar it said Loony Party HQ. And apparently David Such, who was the founder of the party, used to come here every year, and because he was sponsored by William Hill, and William Hill sponsored the Man versus Horse Marathon that takes place here. So kind of weirdness, and this is a place that seems to attract a lot of alternative,
nutters.
Eccentric, I was going to say more polite,
Okay, sorry.
Alternative people who are more perhaps comfortable in their own existence, and and so and then people from off descend here quite regularly to do crazy things. And so I was running the tourist office at the time, and I had a B&B, and I thought, I think I might join this party. It's a good bit of PR. I can, it's something to talk about, this, that, and the other. And then I very quickly realised it was a way to be an activist and to advocate for the democratic process and to raise awareness in communities. I mean, my slogan, my catchphrase was always, please vote, preferably not for me.
And that is a key thing.
Yeah.
That is a key thing. Otherwise, democracy is not democracy without people exercising it and engaging with it.
It's got its failings. The system is so far from perfect, but it's even less democratic if only
everyone just has a
tiny
apathy.
If people don't engage in it.
Also, I think there's we're going off on another tangent, but I think there's a thing people didn't like when women were fighting for votes, and then they got it. It really meant something. And when people voted and the parties did really what they said they were going to do, again, it's never perfect, and there was probably still scandals and the rest of it, but a sense of the vote meaning something, whereas now people become so disengaged, they just don't see the point. And you think, no, get to understand what the point is, and then exercise your right to vote.
And there would be more point if more people engaged in it, then the parties would have to become more accountable again for what they stand for. You know, the voter apathy has led to political apathy throughout. That's my opinion, anyway.
And then in turn, the parties that's into power are getting away with whatever.
Yeah, and they get away with it, and they get away with it openly. They're far less willing to cover up their misdemeanors now. It's like they're lording it over you, and like, what are you going to do about it? We can do whatever we like. And I think the more we engage, and the bigger proportion of the population who have the right to vote, the more they have to consider all of the demographics of people. I mean, if only the rich vote, then they only ever have to cater for the rich. If all of the working class went out and exercised their vote, they would do much more to support the working class. And I think that that's what you're talking about. If young people who are 18 to 21 vote, bearing in mind they didn't always have the vote, and in Wales now you can vote from 16.
Oh, they did
16 to 18. I don't know. I don't think it's happened yet in England.
No,
so 16 to 18-year-olds vote.
But no doubt Stan will be working on that, and then be putting more money in 16-year-old bank accounts or something like that.
Well, that's right. Then things would happen. And at the moment, young people, not just young women, but young people, but always, you know, the women seem to be behind on things. Is they have less opportunity in that, you know, they come away from university with massive never to be cleared debt. They can't get on the housing ladder, all of those things. And because they don't have the vote, no one changes it. Well, if they had the vote, which is why they don't want young people to have the vote, I guess, and you know, and then why would you put in the effort for it? If it's always people over 50 that vote, and they're always from a certain demographic, they will cater mostly for those people. And that's all I ever say, really. And I think going into schools and doing politics in a different way, and just being open about conversation. Everything I do, the book, the work I do, it's all about empowering people by explaining systems and giving them the choices that are available to them. It's never about pushing them to choose a certain way. It's about saying, look, this is out there, that is out there. And you know, the other thing I always do is try to advocate for groups and individuals that don't have the voice themselves, be it because they're shy, or be it because they just don't have the option for whatever reason. So yeah, I'm quite a vocal person. Have you noticed? It's us two, isn't it?
Yeah, but there are some that just talk shit all day long, and they've got massive followings, and they're just, and you just, I don't know. And maybe when it comes to a big election, there'll be young influencers that will be primed by certain parties to do, I don't know, but you just, it's about really having enough of an understanding and really going with your instinct. Yeah. So it is a case of engaging, going and looking at the parties, looking at what's going on in your area, looking at the broader thing. Yeah. You don't have to suddenly get a degree in politics.
Well, you know, there's always this argument, isn't there? I mean, there's this argument to say young people shouldn't vote because they don't understand politics. How many adults understand politics? Yeah, people. All you need to know is what matters to you, and then look at whether you believe that those people are going to, on the whole, support what matters to you and your people and your future. And that is all any of us can do, you know, unless we're a massive corporation with lots of money to lobby and buy the power. So, you know, if you as women, we're talking feminine power and here, if you are looking at a party that is saying that we don't think women should have the right to vote, they should be staying at home and having babies, and if they don't have babies, we'll just tax them some more because they're failing in their duty as women, then if you want to go back to the 1800s, 1900s, then so be it. I don't want that. So I make it my job to know that, because I want to know what I don't, you know, who is not advocating for me.
And I think, Yeah, so don't feel that you can't engage because you don't know anything about politics. That's not necessary. I think it is whether there is an influence or you're feeling swayed potentially by friends or something you see, it is about really thinking, because no one is there next to you when you're ticking that box. So you've really got to use your gut instinct.
Yeah, and you don't have to tell anyone what you've done. I mean, if you don't have to vote the same as your husband, your boyfriend, your mum, your dad, your grandparents. You know, in the old days, I remember my mother-in-law is saying, and I'd say, what do you vote? I just vote how my husband tells me to vote.
Yeah.
You know, you have
so there's
your
a vote wasted already. And you're like,
well, it's like, I mean,
it's different times, but even so.
Yeah. I mean, when they got the vote, they were then just doing, it was just like 2 votes for hubby because they just did what we were told to do with the vote. And, you know, we now, we're in a society where that we are supposedly have equal rights now and equal opportunities and all of those things. Obviously, there is hundreds of years of catching up that needs to do to level it off, and we're trying to get into this space for women to have a voice. But we have to constantly be fighting it, don't we? So we have, and we know from working in industry or working anywhere or doing anything, we have to do it twice as well, work twice as hard to get to the same place. And that is true with exercising our vote as well. And I know it's hard when every minute of your day is exhausting because you're raising children, trying to pay the bills, feed everybody, look after your kids, to have a career as well, be Wonder Woman because you have to do everything, because apparently for your husband childcare is babysitting, but for you it's part of less mothering. Yeah, and that's probably not fair on a lot of men, but there is still that view very much.
Oh, I would say so.
Where you thank your husband for looking after the kids whilst you've gone and done something, when they're his kids too. What is going on?
There's a lot of that still going on.
Still going on. We're still on a journey, aren't we?
Progress.
Progressing.
Okay, progress. So, Berni has agreed that she's just going to do the questions. She's not going to look at them.
Oh, we haven't started yet.
No, we haven't started yed. No, we haven't even done this. We're 23 minutes in. Excellent.
Who switched off? Anyone still there? Just like, hello. Go on then.
Hang on in there, people. So, can I say that you're an atheist? We're putting you down as atheist in that tick box. So unless you haven't watched any of these other ones, this divine feminine thing is I still feel like it's kind of a new thing to me. I still feel, so the point of these conversations is to speak with different men and women. I've only had one guy brave enough, but anyway, that we're from different, me and Berni have found out we're more similar than we think, but I'm sure in many ways we're still quite different. And the atheist spiritual thing would be one of those markers. And so to have these conversations is not about becoming friends and finding out your similarities. It's learning from having conversations with people that you are of different minds, because it just brings such a richness, such a wealth. And people think of things in different ways and have different assumptions or different understandings of things. And then, if I can learn, and then you can learn things from having those sorts of conversations by picking up on stuff that it's not just all in your own head. It's so this is a divine feminine. It's this thing that, you've got to be like some sort of woman with a long hair and you're in this dress and you're floating around in a field at the bottom of Glastonbury Tor on Beltane or something. You know what I mean? It's I think it's more than that, and I don't think it's a category thing or a group thing or a niche thing. I think it's a world living thing, and it's a male feminine aspect thing. So you are coming from it, because I would say being an atheist, but then also there's this thing of like people now ticking the box of, I'm spiritual, not religious.
Yeah.
Again, it's another one of these terms, like everything spiritual is just all this like...
Well, the world is spiritual, isn't it? In the fact that, none of us know for sure so much of what exists. There is, we know what we can physically see. but we don't know that we all see it in the same way. We almost certainly don't. We know what we can physically taste and feel and hear, but do we all have a unique take on that? And then as our conscience, we don't all, none of us know for sure what happens after we die. I mean, we know that the physical body rots and returns to the earth. We know that because we can dig up graves, but we don't know what happens to all our thoughts and our memories and our feelings and the energy that makes up us. We don't know that.
Which I watched a thing yesterday that a lady talked about. I guess she is a neuroscientist.
Yeah.
She wasn't in a white coat or anything, but she was talking as if she's that sort of a degree student or a PhD, whatever.
Yeah.
And she was saying that they're finding now that like memory is basically our electric system physically is like giving off a Wi-Fi signal, and memory is they've found through brain study is kind of like in the cloud.
Yeah.
It's not in the brain, it's off somewhere. So we're trying to retrieve memory, or we're sending memory, an imprint into something.
From a universal computer.
Yeah, and this is like, and this is like science, where people separate out science and religion, and then the people who are into science are not into religion now, or God, because they believe. But actually, there's such a crossover now. It's fascinating in what these sort of very, scientists in their sort of box are fighting.
Well, everyone is trying to make sense of things, aren't they? Yeah. Scientists do it through evidence and finding. And following the science. So they do it through experiment and proof and disproving things. Whereas faith is, from what I understand, relies a lot on exactly that. Faith, trust in something that you can't explain, that there is some higher explanation. And as a celebrant and as a doula, I come across lots of people who have lots of different ways of interpreting that, and I respect all of that because it is their way of making sense of the world and being guided and understanding what happens and explaining the unexplainable to them. I did a funeral recently, and I read what this person had thought, and he said he didn't believe in God as such. He believed that we are all God. Our existence is the godliness of everything, and so you just kind of and it guided how he lived his life. And I thought, well, then that's a really interesting take. I mean, I think the difference between the way I live my life perhaps and the way that somebody who says they are religious lives their life is I don't believe that there is an all-seeing, all-being person who decides whether or not they will grant my wishes and that type of thing. And I do my goodness is not based on any sort of teach. It's an innate, do good, be kind. John Wesley's be kind to people. I can't remember the quote now. It's just gone out of my head. It's on my wall.
Be good to all with all you have and in every way you can to everyone you meet. In always put a small
that's right. Yeah. I mean, living by that as a be kind, do good, and you never know what anyone else is going through, and support people is a way of life that I have. That doesn't, that isn't guided because of a faith I have. It's guided because
doesn't mean you're running off to join the Methodists.
Yeah, exactly. But but if people find comfort in a faith and a way of being, then who am I to mock that or anything? They can have whatever faith they want. I mean, who is it? It says there are 3,000 religions. The difference between
I think there's 40,000 types of Christianity.
Right. Oh my God.
Something like that.
And all I'm saying is that I believe in one less than my mother-in-law, who was a devout Methodist.
And of course, then you can be one of the 40,000 Christian thing. But then there's Islam and Buddhism and Hinduism. So there's And even within Hinduism across India, there's all thousands of gods, millions of gods apparently. There's like,
exactly. It's just, So, next question. We've done one.
We haven't.
Oh, we haven't.
We haven't even started the question. When I say divine feminine, what does that bring to mind for you? What does that... Like a definition or a sense that you might have of that, or you've never thought about it ever before?
No, I think of as Mother Nature and nurturing and strength. I think I think when I think divine feminine, it brings a sense of power and ownership and control into my mind. Not control in a bad way, but like ownership of ourselves.
Sovereignty and standing in your power.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I don't follow any of that specifically, but I'm sure I tap into it with a lot of the people I connect with who go to do women's circles and all of those types of things. And I just think that there is in our lives, in my life even, my feminine circle, the women that I surround myself with, bring me joy, bring me strength, bring me hope, enrich my life. So, and I think that that's probably how I would define it. It's a very positive and wonderfully glorious thing.
And I'm thinking of your deaf doula work. I think you must bring the divine feminine in there, even if it's unintentionally. It's like,
I'm sure,
the nurturing and the
I mean, you are naturally nurturing. You're listening. I mean, you're providing space and calm and
the holding
and yes, and this kind of like wrapping and engulfing a good Welsh cwtch into it. A big, sort of, you're bringing heart and kindness into it, and
beautiful. Well, you've kind of answered, I think, the second one. How does divine feminine play out in your life? Now, for some, I've put that's ritual, it's ceremony, it's self-care, it's certain practices, observations, day-to-day living. But I think what you've just said about your friendship and the women in your life and
the way they all kind of naturally gather and form a protective shield when it's needed and lift each other up and celebrate successes amongst each other and all of those things. It's glorious to watch.
Yeah, so it's not just the times that you need to ring someone because you're having a nightmare.
No,
it's the
celebration.
Yeah.
And it's not showing off. Being able to say, "Oh wow," and them all go, "Yeah, you."
That is wow.
Yeah, rather than and trying to outdo or better or whatever.
Oh, somebody's at the door. We'll stop. We'll come back, and we're back. It was the fish man.
It was the fish man.
We followed yesterday.
I know, that's so weird, isn't it?
Do you usually have him as your fish man?
I've never had a fish man.
Oh, have you got a fish man now?
No, because
He's just randomly knocking on your
I just said
door.
I'm in the middle of something. And he went, oh, sorry.
How weird. How very Welsh. She used to have an old-fashioned milkman until Christmas. Poor chap's not very well at the minute, but
yeah,
it's proper old
glass
school around here.
bottles
Love it.
by the door.
Yeah,
It's always
nice. Okay, this is a good one for you. What changes do you think we would see culturally and socially and in the family and work life with divine feminine really rising up?
I think there would be.
Coming to the fore.
I think that as women gain more of the leadership in the world, there would hopefully be, I feel hopeful that there would be less war, more tolerance and more nurturing. There would be, society would measure its success in a different way, as they do in other cultures that are not so capitalist. I just think that we have, to measure success by the well-being of everybody is a way that is much more holistic to the world and to families and to every living thing on the planet. And I think if women rose up more, we would see a shift in that direction. I think we did that a little bit when, going back to politics, when Jacinda Ardern was, Jacinda, oh, is that her name? Was the Prime Minister in
New Zealand.
And
What a woman.
The way she looked at society as a family, a connected family, and looked at well-being as a whole and success as a whole and compassion as a strength, rather than, you look at who the people who lead societies in the world at the moment. Compassion is not seen as a strength. It's all macho aggression and
Or something
and
for
greed.
Buddhists.
Yeah. Or
That's just for Buddhists, that compassion stuff.
And compassion is seen as a weakness. Like, women being emotional is seen as a weakness, and I think it's a massive strength. If you feel emotional towards someone who's suffering, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing, to feel someone's pain and recognise someone's suffering and have a desire and longing to change that and improve that is not a weakness. How that is such a strength. And I'm not saying that's exclusive to women by any means, but men in power seem to lack it on the whole. And maybe women who rose into that power might not have it as much. I don't know, but at the moment, I just see that the rising of women can only be a good thing.
And when I started with this divine feminine thing, trying to learn about it through conversations with others and getting the different viewpoints and all this of it, what I very quickly learned, which I'd kind of completely not dismissed, but just didn't seem to have an awareness of, but it suddenly seems so obvious, is that divine feminine is not exclusive to males, that you have this male feminine
women,
aspect in each of us, men and women, but also that there's the divine masculine, which I hear this term divine feminine has been spoken of, but not really the divine masculine. But also this thing of, women, like I think of Margaret Thatcher, leaders like that, where they've had to kind of she had the most enormous shoulder pads, and she almost had to be bigger shoulders than all the men because she was in the men's world. But it's almost like the men need to bring out I'm not saying their feminine side as in I'm going on the trans thing, I'm thinking literally in the spiritual sense of yourself as a being.
I mean, women, of course, like Margaret Thatcher, they had to do work, like I said before, work twice as hard to get to the same place, because they had to overcome all the, silly little woman and, all of the things that were culturally viewed that way in that time. And as a woman, she had to present herself as harder and tougher, because any weakness that she showed would be the system as was then being proved to be right, that women didn't have what it took to be in those positions of power. Now whatever we think of Margaret Thatcher and her politics and what she did to society, the fact that she broke down boundaries and opened doors to women. I mean, she did that. You would never have considered women in politics before that, really, And so I think she had to look at she had to take a lot of her more masculine, macho traits and push them to the fore. And I think that I think if the divine feminine can come out in men and women, and the divine masculine as well, and we can take the perceived feminine divine traits and accept them as strengths as well, then men can experience those and do experience those too. It's just society historically has seen the nurturing, the typically feminine traits as being weaknesses. But the more we rise and prove them to be strengths, the more that male identifying and female identifying people can bring them into the business, the power, and society as a whole, because they're not weaknesses, are they?
No.
You know, they're just not
And it's
weaknesses.
a part of us as a human species. I guess when you're in leadership, you've got to be, you've got to be pretty thick-skinned. I know in the world as it is today, how power and leadership is today, you've got to be, but you've also got to be decisive. You've got to be forthright.
Yeah.
You've got to be collected and astute
And for heaven's sake, haven't women always done that? I mean,
well, exactly,
we always.
But I think it's very easy to pass women off as like, oh, in a minute they're going to have their period, or they're just going to cry, or they're going to. I think women are tough. Women are really tough
Because they have to get on doing that. I mean, women raise children. Women grow life in them. They then multitask their way through life while man goes and I don't know, hunter-gatherer or works or whatever traditionally. But the women did everything else. Mary, I mean, I'm not religious, but Mary is a revered, character, real character in the scripture, and we're still considered second-class citizens, even though she is. Without her, none of this would be possible, surely. The strength is in the women. They've been persecuted and remain persecuted in lots of cultures and still remain strong and still rise up and still birth children and still
hold everything together
and still bring hope for change, despite being kept in their place for hundreds, thousands of years.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so ingrained. And it made me think, as you were speaking, I was thinking, there are the typical, aside from the different gender things these days, in very more modern days, there's those typical traits. It was very much the pink thing and the blue thing, and the boys would do this, and their characteristics are this, and that's masculine, that's male, and this is female, and they're pretty, and there's this and this. But actually, I wonder what difference it makes putting divine feminine and divine masculine, the divine in front of. Yeah. That's probably a whole other thing.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if
but there is a power to the word divine, obviously. I mean, I certainly, if I'm thinking of divine feminine, I feel much stronger than just being a woman trying to do the thing. And pink was always a boy's colour anyway.
Yes, it was. Only girls would never be seen in pink.
And in the
past, 1700s or 1600s.
Yeah. It was
something like that.
Yeah, I don't know who flipped that over, but yeah.
Well, yeah, because
then the marketing decided that we're going to appeal to, this is the colour we're going to use. So then this is a toy that they should play with, and this is a nurturing toy for a girl. Here's a dolly and a baby that wheezes, and then you feed it, and and here's an action man that can go and fight with it.
Tonka trucks.
I know, and now, I mean, you see it now. Lego is in all colours. Girls' colours as well as
when we were in Tesco's yesterday, I nearly took a photo of it because there was the stand with the promotional stand with the Lego in it, and right next to it, and there happened actually, this one was quite well stocked and this one didn't have very much in it, and there was one thing on the top shelf, and the picture above it was like like a unicorn in Lego or something, and it was like, I made this, but it was actually like the girl.
Yeah.
Like the girl made this, and it's Lego. How about that? And you think,
condescending.
I used to play with Lego.
How condescending.
And it was my brother's Lego, but I used to play with Lego.
So condescending to try, but
it's really separating out. Like, it's just another marketing stream, isn't it, to get more sales because we can now sell Lego to girls.
But put the Lego in there,
especially for girls. Oh God. Right. What do you think of this? This looks like I've not really completed writing this question. What do you think of modern day feminism, the state of how? Oh, and I haven't finished the question. Oh. This is one that came up because I watched again, trying to explore things, learn more and understand things. And I happened to come across a video from a woman in America. She must have been, I'm going to say she was in her 30s. Mm-hmm. And she had discovered evidence and material, whatever she was reading, that when feminism was brought in, say what feminism courses were created in the United States universities, there were some women that were writing about the fact that feminism was all a big con. So this went back to things in the stuff that these, I've got no names, I've got no references, but the stuff that these women were writing about went back to, say, like the industrial times. Right. So pre-industrial times, some women, especially out in farms and stuff, were doing some elements of the work. Generally, the men were going out and doing that. The women were doing some more sort of homestead stuff and doing, say, the home veg patch, or they might be doing the chickens and milking the cows and the goats, but they wouldn't be necessarily going and doing the heavy ploughing and stuff like that. So again, women were doing like triple jobs already. And then the Industrial Revolution came, and men were going off into the factories. Then they realised they didn't, when all this industrial stuff, sales started growing, they didn't have enough manpower to do all these things that they were starting to industrialise. So then they started bringing in immigrants. Right. And then that wasn't enough. Over time, that wasn't enough. So then they were like, wow, we've got loads of women. We can get women coming in and doing stuff. So then they start. And then after a time down the line, and I don't know at what point there was this crossover, that it was like, yeah, right, now we can get women, like you can advertise it in a way like you're going to have power and freedom and spending money and this and that, because you're going to be self-directed and you're going to go and earn money and you can have a career and you can do it. And then it started splitting down the family unit, and then the women are really busting their ass because they're definitely at home trying to juggle kids, and nursery school started, and then it was like farm your kids out into nursery school and go and then rush to your job and then earn your money. And probably for a good while, I would say that money wasn't necessarily always hers. Maybe she had to put some of it into the pot for the husband and all of that. Or
give it to the husband when he got home.
There's bound to have been some families like that. And so she was just talking on this, and I thought, wow, how fascinating. I've never heard this sort of viewpoint.
So in what way do you think that means feminism doesn't exist? Because I'm a bit confused where the point was.
That it was almost created, and one aspect of it was this thing of like, women, you can have power, you can go out and have status, you can go and earn money, you can be a person as well, not just the men, and it's going to come to you for employment and job, and now you've got the vote, and you can, But actually it was, they're almost saying it as if it was a thing to break down the family unit, because then everyone's knackered, they're all confused, they're all trying too hard, and men are always still dominant anyway.
But that is because of
to us.
But that was a social some construct, isn't it? The reason that we are still in this position and fighting as feminists is because we're still not there in an equal footing. It is still not automatically thought of that the man can stay at home just as easy as the woman can. The woman can be the maid breadwinner just as easily as the man can. We haven't, obviously women have to birth the child, so there is that. But there's, the workplace is constructed around a men's timetable, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, with school only being this bit. And when the school holidays are on, it's still perceived that it's got to be the woman who has the part-time job so that they can cope with the gaps in it. It's not because of the pressure and the extra thing that breaks families down and makes us feel more pressured as women, because we've been given everything and it's a big con and now we're trying to juggle everything. It's because the system hasn't changed its process and caught up with the fact that the little woman isn't still at home doing all those other things whilst the man goes and does their things. Everything has to change around it. So there is still a need for the fight for feminism, because we have managed to achieve certain things, the vote, the ability the right to have any job we want and learn any career we want and have our own bank account and all of these things. but the system is still very much based around the cycle that works for the males and the system. You know, there is no reason why work has to be 9 to 5, 5 days a week for every, you know, and that the school holidays have to be here, and that has to be a woman's job to do that, and, you know, all of these things. So there is that feminism is a fight for full equality, not the illusion of equality, which is where we're at the moment.
I'm thinking maybe where she's coming from is because she's in whatever Christian church she's in, and she's very sort of like, I'm at home with my kids and it's all great.
Yeah.
But actually, that makes me think that there's just such a pressure financially now. There's for very few, there's the option to have somebody at home. Because I think what is a shame, I used to think, it's such a shame that we're like this. Women should be at home and men should be out there, or there should be the option. But what I actually think is there just should be the option, because there isn't the financial pressure, that somebody can be at home.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what.
And that again goes back to politics and society. You know, the minute that we allowed women to go out to work and have a career of their own, the price of everything went up, and, you know, houses and this, that and the other, because everyone had two incomes, so you could afford for everything. But then it meant everyone had to have two incomes in order to afford. So if you choose now to have one parent at home, and it doesn't have to be the woman, you could be the man, you know, and in a same-sex relationship, it would, and all of that. But we don't have the choice now, because we still work to a gross domestic product success measurement system across the world, rather than
not the basis around the family unit and the power and strength.
Yeah, and that's not because feminine is a false flag, you know, something that we're now burdened with. It's because we are still working with an old system.
Old mentalities.
Yeah, and an old mentality, and trying to fit the new opportunities into it, and not everyone is seeing it as opportunity, and it has become a burden. And, you know, and people, and for it to be equality and fair for men and for women, there has to be the choice that you can afford to stay at home and look after your own children and not have to farm them out to somebody else. You know, we were talking about this actually the other day, weren't we, when you were here? I was saying I don't see why a stay-at-home mother isn't seen as a job. Why does a mum have to pay somebody else to look after their children? Why can't they get the childcare, the qualifications on nutrition and budgeting and safety and first aid, and be their own paid childcarer for their own children, if that's what they choose to do, and it be seen staying at home and feeding your family and keeping your household and managing your household budget and looking after your children and keeping them safe and growing them and nurturing them and educating them in the home. Why is that which has always been seen as an unpaid job, I'm just a housewife, why is that not a career choice? It's a career. You know, it's not easy to juggle a household budget. You know, you've got to be a cook, you've got to be a financier, you've got to be a nurturer, you've got to be the nurse, you've got to be the teacher,
cleaner.
You've got to, you know, there are, you know, it is such a skilled and pressured job. Then it's not about benefit. Perhaps that should be paid. Instead of paying a childcarer to look after your children, why don't the government, while they're giving the vouchers to the childcarer, give that funding to the parent and see it as a job that they're doing? And if you need to make it more so, it could be levels. So if you've done the NVQs in budgeting,
financing,
if you've done your first aider, if you've done a nutrition course, you can get different levels of it, because you are being a more qualified, you know, household manager than before. Why should it be someone else that has to do that, so that you've got a job and they're not raising your children. Someone else has got that job of raising your children. Someone else is being paid to clean your house. If you want, you should be able to mix and match that, and you get paid to clean your house, and you get paid to do that, and
also, it's quite short-sighted, isn't it? Because the kids only need care for a certain amount of time. Let's say when they get to 10, you're out in the workplace, but you might be out in the workplace with more skills, say maths and things a bit, than you had before.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's a constant cycle going round. And the NHS would probably be saving money because people would be fed better and they'd be mentally, emotionally, and physically healthier.
And you will have been seen as having had a job. You know, you will have budgeted your household. You would have raised, you know, done all of these things, and you know, nutrition. You could go into catering because you have learnt nutrition in order to run your household. You know, you have got skills that are transferable. You're not 10 years out of the job market. You're 10 years working from home.
Yeah.
You know, we're all working from home now, aren't we? You're 10 years working from home. And what is wrong with that? Why is it not seen as work? And that is where feminism is failing us. It's when we're still viewing it from patriarchal. We're still viewing the whole of life from a patriarchal standpoint. I didn't realise how feminist I was until I started talking to you. I should be out on the
big pink placard.
Yeah, I need a pitchfork. I need a pitchfork. A real manly one in a black and green and really heavy.
With flames.
Yeah, with
Go
flames.
Faster stripes.
Yeah.
And a beard.
Yeah, beard. So my own, thank you very much. I'm menopausal.
Do you think we're seeing a major re-emergence of the divine feminine? Is it a term that you've seen popping up? I see it popping up, but it's probably because of stuff that I've looked at on Instagram, or people I'm associated with Instagram, or things that I've watched on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? It starts throwing you.
I see the phrase popping up, but I have, since I moved to Wales, and okay, it's been 20 years, I have a much more diverse social circle than when I was city-based, you know, and working for the man, you know, where you only really know the people you work do the same sort of thing and they're the same level. You don't social status, where you're in that kind of really close. So I have a much broader social circle, and so I do come across it a lot more. I don't know if that's because there is more of it, or because I am blessed to have this hugely diverse life that I have.
Yeah. And of course, when it's stages of life as well, isn't it? Because when you're younger, you're just not making yourself aware of those. You're not looking.
Well, unless you're in it, you're not. You're too busy trying to get your foot on ladders. I mean, I'm now, you know, once I hit 50, the freedoms of hitting 50 and becoming my own, or becoming more me than I already was, and being comfortable within that has just been an absolute joyful decade.
Oh, good.
Yeah. You're looking forward to it. Yeah, you're going to have such fun. I'm so jealous.
Nifty at 50. Is there anything relating to this that you feel needs to be added here? We're on the second to last question here.
Oh,
this
added
is the roundup.
No, I mean, I think what I've found from like you coming here and staying here for a few days, and me listening to your viewpoints, and it's helped me it's enlightened me a lot. It hasn't, you know, I'm not suddenly going to join any church or anything.
No, but then I don't come with a conversion thing.
That's right, thank goodness.
I don't bring my conversion kit.
No, not like some people used to come with their Alpha course stuff for me when they. But I really struggle with evangelism. Yeah, but I love the whole idea that there is so much to explore and so many ways to explain things, and the answers are probably never going to be fully found. But the fact that we are open to exploring it all together and discovering so much more power and opportunity and gloriousness out there, and hope, I think. I haven't got any answers.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. And then last one, can you give me or us a way in which we can engage further or express more fully, re-emerge the re-emergence of the divine feminine or our celebration of it? See, some have got like a book or a reading or a practice that they do, or they, you know.
I think it is just really about engaging. You know, within my line of work, it's about not just listening, it's about hearing and then recounting and storytelling. And I think, you know, if anything, you know, that whole divine feminism is about celebrating and telling stories, not just of other women, but of lives and how they interconnect and how we all ripple into each other's lives. And it's very much where I come from, is about authenticity and about how you can just touch whoever you meet for however long, a little bit of their life ripples into yours, and just taking those moments to connect those little ripples and appreciate them in your life.
Authenticity, that's definitely the word that would come up
Authenticity
for you, I think, when I think of you.
Authenticity is the word that goes through.
And authenticity.
Thank you. I'm very grateful for that. It's really nice.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a long time coming getting up to you. Oh. Love and hope to you.
Yeah, and you. It's been
Bless
great.
you.
It's been great. We're going to spend the rest of our day. Cake.
She has been teaching me how to do stained glass, and we've got to do some welding. It's not
soldering.
I know. I want to say welding. Imagine you have a big mask.
You just want a power tool.
I'm doing this tiny. I love a power tool. I do love a power tool.
You're going to go to blast my office in it.
She had a workshop, but I melted it. Thank you, Berni.
We'll do that. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Peace be with you.